In beautiful Lake Worth Beach, Florida, life unfolds against the backdrop of sun-kissed breezes. An idyllic place, really, for raising a family. But things twist unexpectedly when a routine visit brings surprising discoveries and secrets to light. It makes you wonder what really happened that day and what happens when love becomes fatal. This is a Fatal Attraction podcast with Twice the Terror.
August 5th, 2016, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. It's a peaceful Friday afternoon in this laid-back beach town in the heart of sunny South Florida.
It's in the eastern part of Palm Beach County. It's residential, there are restaurants, there are businesses.
It's very diverse, racially, ethnically. It's a very inclusive, quiet, nice beachside place.
To escape the summer heat, 38-year-old Jamie Copeland is taking an afternoon nap in her apartment.
Jamie lived with her 20-year-old daughter, Shania, and Shania's 6-month-old son.
Suddenly, Jamie is woken up by a loud noise.
She said it was like a series of bangs.
Shania? Is that you?
She goes into her daughter's room and she finds her laying in bed.
Shania, did you hear that noise?
But when Jamie moves closer, she makes a terrifying discovery.
Oh my gosh, Shania!
To her horror, she finds her daughter laying in a pool of blood.
She's very emotional. This is her baby.
20-year-old Shania Copeland had a sense of humor that could put a smile on anyone's face.
She was like a clown. She loved to make us laugh. She's like a people person.
She got to make a joke out of everything. Like, you rarely see her serious.
She had many friends. She was warm and friendly and always smiling and just a good person.
Shania had grown up in southern Florida, where she was always surrounded by her loving family.
It was like 12 to 15 of us, all in one house. My grandparents and all of us cousins with our parents there. Her mom, that's like her best friend. Her mom is the same way, comedian.
Despite her carefree personality, she was serious about her goals for her future.
She wanted to be a model. She was tall and beautiful, structured.
Everybody loved her smile and her dimples.
She always wanted to be larger than life. Like, she always wanted to do something extravagant.
But Shania's extravagant dreams were put on hold when her family was struck by tragedy.
Their father suddenly became ill, and we found out that it was cancer. Not even a month later, he was gone.
That kind of traumatized her in a way, like losing a parent. It affected her a lot.
Her dad loved the ground that she walked on. She was his baby. You can tell it was like getting to her. It was hard for her and her mom because he was like the sole provider. Once he left, there was no more financial backing.
But at age 20, things started looking up for Shania and her family when she gave birth to a beautiful baby boy.
He definitely was a miracle. He changed her life for the better.
And even though the child's father wasn't in the picture, Shania was all in.
Not having the father in her life, I don't think it fazed her.
She had a good support system. She still had her mom and her sister, her cousins. She loves her son.
While she was grateful for her family's help, she still hoped to one day find a father figure for her son.
She had grown up with both her mom and dad, and it was important to her that her son had the same experience.
She wanted that two-parent household for her child.
She was seeking for a life partner, someone that she can raise her child with and have that sense of family, that sense of home.
However, finding the right man wasn't easy.
She dated a few people, but none of them lived up to her expectations.
Until she crossed paths with a man named George McCrae.
They met from the community. In our community, everyone is like outside, coming, going. It's just like a close-knit community.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
I'm George.
Shania.
Can I help you with those?
Yeah, that would be great.
Even though 62-year-old George was much older, he and Shania connected from the moment they met.
There was a 40-plus year age difference between Shania and George.
Thank you.
She liked older men. I would say after her dad died, that's when it started. She would talk to anyone from 2 to 92. It didn't matter. Her father was much older than her mom as well. So I feel like that's where she pretty much picked that up from.
Casual flirtations between the two soon blossomed into something serious.
She would always tell me the younger guys her age wouldn't provide for her.
She was excited to be in a stable, mature relationship.
Their relationship, good. He was taking care of her,
He was making her happy.
But tragically, the couple's happiness would be short-lived after Shania's mother makes a horrifying discovery.
August 5th, 2016, Shania has just been found in a pool of blood.
Oh my God, Shania!
She doesn't know what to do. She has no idea what happened.
She runs outside, hollering and screaming.
Oh, wake up.
But instead of help, she finds more carnage.
She quickly finds out that Shania is not the only one hurt.
There's a man on the ground, covered in blood.
There's another victim.
Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction podcast. "20-year-old single mother Shania Copeland had finally found a devoted partner to help raise her son.
George McCrae. He was older than her, and everybody doubted them, but she fell in love.
Thank you. She put her trust into George. She looked up to him. He was able to provide that stability.
But now, Shania has been found shot inside the home she shares with her mother.
Her mother was awakened by a loud bang, and when she went to investigate, she found Shania in a pool of her own blood.
Thankfully, though, Shania's 6-month-old son was at daycare at the time.
She ran outside looking for help, and that's when she discovered someone else had been shot.
The second victim is a neighbor of the Copelands, a 50-year-old man named Leotis Lester, known around the town by the nickname Booby.
He was sprawled out on the sidewalk, covered in blood.
And another neighbor is already on the phone with Palm Beach County 911.
He got shot in the neck.
Shot in the neck? Okay, let me get paramedics. Hold on.
He's on his last breath.
I have officers on the way.
By the time first responders arrive on the scene, it's already too late.
They quickly determined that both victims, Leotis and Shania, are deceased.
Leotis was killed by a bullet to the neck. Near his body, they recovered a 9mm shell casing.
Shania suffered 3 gunshot wounds, one to her head, one to her neck, and one to her hand, which was believed to be a defensive wound.
There were 3 shell casings found in the bedroom where Shania was found.
The casings in her bedroom also came from a 9mm weapon, most likely a handgun.
Investigators immediately rule out robbery as the motive for this crime.
They find that nothing is out of place, nothing is missing, nothing is broken.
There seems to be no sign of forced entry.
This had to be someone that Shania knew.
They were at close range, and it's obvious it was an execution. They wanted her to die.
But what about Leotis?
They are not sure if he was the intended target or was a witness to the actual crime.
Looking for answers, detectives turn to Shania's grieving mother, Jamie Copeland.
That affected her tremendously. She was still trying to get over her husband's death. She was devastated.
Let me first by saying, I'm sorry for your loss. I really am. What relationship?
My heart is broken for my aunt. To have lost a child is a tragedy.
She will never get over her baby girl being killed in her house while she was home.
I looked, came in the room, I saw she sleep. Now all I like to see was blood. Oh, Jesus.
I know, baby. I know. I know.
Oh, I never thought it hurt so bad.
Jamie says she didn't see or hear her daughter's killer.
Did you hear any arguing?
One word.
And she has no idea who could have killed Shania.
Do you know of anybody that would want to hurt your daughter?
No. Nobody at all. She was at work already.
She doesn't know of any enemies or anyone who would want to hurt Shania.
Oh, the door was like the weirdest thing ever.
Just out of the blue, huh? No reason for it.
I can't think of a reason.
Shania's mother says the same about the other victim.
He was a nice man, good family friend, and he was very close to Shania. He was sort of like a father figure. He would give her life advice.
Shania viewed him as someone who would be there to help her through difficult points in her life.
But then, Jamie says something that gives investigators pause.
Her car was gone.
Whoever did this had taken Jamie's keys and drove off in her white sedan.
It's a revelation that's confirmed by Jamie's neighbor.
She said that around 1:30 in the afternoon, she heard gunshots.
As soon as she saw that her neighbor was shot, she ran outside to provide first aid. As she was doing that, she noticed the vehicle peeling out.
You saw the car backing out. Did you see anything else?
A nearby surveillance camera also captures the white sedan driving through the neighborhood around 1:30 p.m.
Armed with the description of the vehicle, the detectives put out a bolo, which is be on the lookout for this particular vehicle.
Meanwhile, the rest of Shania's family is shocked by the tragic news of her death.
Everybody was basically crying.
I just fell down. I just, kind of fainted.
She was my best friend.
I just wanted answers and want to know where the killer was.
The next morning, detectives get their first lead.
They get a visit from one of Shania's friends, Jessica Wallace.
She states that she knows who might have killed Shania.
She said it was Shania's ex-boyfriend, Anton West.
In Palm Beach County, Florida, detectives are investigating the senseless double homicide of Shania Copeland and Leotis Booby Lester.
Leotis Lester was a family friend. He'd known Shania for much of her life.
He was the next door neighbor. They used to just hang out, sit outside and play music.
No one seemed to know why anyone would want them dead.
Now, a friend of Shania's, named Jessica Wallace, has come forward claiming she has the information police are looking for.
When Jessica arrives to the police station, she is still very shaken up about what has happened.
She is very, very adamant and convinced that an ex-boyfriend had something to do with it.
It's gotta be Anton. I know it was him.
Anton who?
Jessica explains that around the time Shania's son was born, she had started dating a man named Anton West.
Shania wanted a man in her son's life. She dated a lot of guys who just weren't ready for that type of commitment. But Anton felt different.
He seemed like he cared about her. He was there for her, you know?
He would take them out. He was providing.
She thought Anton was the perfect father figure for her son.
But Jessica tells detectives that before long, Shania realized it was all an act.
She found out that he was cheating on her with multiple women.
When Shania found out, she decided to cut him out of her life.
However, Anton refused to let her go.
Shania.
I'm not doing this right now with Anton.
Just talk to
You
me.
need to leave.
Talk to me.
She told him to leave her alone, but he just wouldn't listen.
When Anton came back around, he was trying to put the moves on her.
Talk to me.
You need to let me go.
Just talk to me. Why don't you want to talk to me?
Stop grabbing
Listen.
me.
He started to engage in harassing behavior.
Why you don't want to talk to me?
So her friend and neighbor, Leotis, decided to step in.
Talk to me.
Shania,
talk. Look. Is he bothering you?
No, he was just about to leave.
I mean,
He's leaving.
business. He came to her rescue.
There's nothing to talk about.
Look, man, look. I think you need to leave, bruh. She don't need you
need
right
to
now.
mind your business.
Jessica tells detectives that it wasn't until Shania began dating someone new, George McCrae, that Anton finally stopped coming around.
How long ago was that?
About a month.
Shania thought it was over for real.
But Jessica isn't so sure.
I feel like Anton was plotting something.
Like what?
Like what happened.
Jessica believed that this was an act of revenge because Shania rejected his advances.
Thank you for your time.
However, detectives also have to take George McCrae into consideration.
If he was Shania's current boyfriend, they definitely wanted to speak to him.
Detectives really needed to know if there were any cracks in their relationship, especially if Anton was hanging around.
Before reaching out to George, investigators decide to bring Anton in for questioning.
Jessica had made some pretty alarming accusations about him.
Thank you for coming in.
Are you guys gonna tell me what am I doing here?
Have you heard about what happened to Shania Copeland and Leotis Lester?
What do you mean?
When the detectives told him about the murders, he seemed genuinely shocked.
Not Shania. Wait, you guys think I had something to do with this?
Anton admits that he had recently tried to rekindle his relationship with Shania.
He admits that he was trying to get back with her, but even though he was upset, even though he didn't like the way she turned him down, he would never do anything to hurt her.
I got a lot of love for Shania, even though things between us didn't work out.
He says that he hasn't even seen her in a few weeks.
He was adamant that he had nothing to do with Shania's death.
But detectives don't intend to take his word for it.
Police at this point need an alibi.
Detectives asked Anton, where were you at the time of the crime?
Anton claims he was with friends on the opposite side of town.
Police, of course, check it out, and it turns out it's true.
Now they are back at square one.
But before detectives end the interview, Anton has a question for them.
You guys have talked to George McCrae, right? Kind of a scary dude.
Anton had told them that George had threatened him several times to stay away from Shania.
He'd gotten the impression that George was not someone he wanted to mess with.
We will look into him.
After wrapping things up with Anton, detectives run a background check on George McCrae.
He had an extensive criminal history. His criminal history dates back to the 80s and 90s.
Most of the charges were minor, but there were a couple that were serious.
He served a 15-year prison sentence for a bank robbery in federal court. Robbery is a violent crime. It's one that involves force.
To detectives, that was proof that he is capable of violence.
And George had only been out of jail for just over a year.
He was actually released from prison about 14 months before the murders.
But before detectives can track him down, they receive a visit from a young woman named Tamika Foster.
She says that she was a close friend of Shania's.
I was chilling with her and Leotis yesterday afternoon.
They were just having a good time. It was a quiet, regular hangout.
Until someone else showed up.
She says that George McCrae pulls up and things got immediately tense.
Tamika had a feeling that something bad was getting ready to happen.
You think I'm stupid? I know y'all cheat on me. I know you cheat on me with him. I know you are. Y'all gonna regret this.
Not even 20 minutes later, Shania and Lester were both dead.
In a gripping tale of intrigue, tireless detectives come together to untangle the web of betrayal. Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
After clearing Shania Copeland's jilted ex, Anton West, Palm Beach County detectives are zeroing in on her most recent boyfriend, 62-year-old George McCrae.
You guys have talked to George McCrae, right? It's kind of a scary dude.
After learning about his criminal history, it really was time to turn up the investigation another level as they looked into George McCrae.
Now detectives are speaking with someone else who has even more to tell them about George. Shania's friend, Tamika Foster.
Tamika Foster told police that she'd been with Leotis and Shania right before they were killed.
As soon as she heard what happened, she knew she needed to come forward.
We were just chilling, hanging out, listening to music.
They were just having a good time.
But Tamika says that changed as soon as George showed up.
Things immediately gets intense.
The energy was just off from the beginning. Tamika remembers the way that George looked at Booby with anger and disdain. He seemed upset to see Shania hanging out with Booby.
Oh my gosh, not again.
What did I tell you about hanging around this man?
This is my friend. I told you that we're just friends.
You think I'm stupid?
They were friends, and George McCrae thought that they were more than friends.
Tamika explains that George believed Shania was cheating on him with Leotis, but the accusation was completely unfounded.
It was strictly platonic. There was nothing romantic in between them.
Man, George, get out of here. You're gonna regret this. Y'all gonna regret this.
Eventually, George left, and Shania seemed like she'd had enough.
Things were getting really bad with George. George won't let her go anywhere. He won't let her do anything. She tells Tamika that she feels like a prisoner.
But according to Tamika, her friend was afraid to pull the plug for good.
She was scared of what he might do to her.
There were threats. George McCrae would pretty often tell her that if he can't have her, nobody can have her.
It's a form of intimidation, and that is commonly seen in abusive relationships. It's scary. You don't know what this person is going to do. You don't know what they're capable of.
Tamika tells detectives that when 1 p.m. rolled around, Shania needed to get ready for work, and the friends parted ways.
Miss Shania, if you don't mind, I'm gonna stay out here and finish listening to this mixtape.
Look, you are always welcome.
Hours later, when Tamika learned about the shooting, she got a sick feeling in her stomach.
I know it was him. I'm sure of it.
She knew that George's jealousy was behind Shania Copeland's murder.
Based on what they've just learned, George McCrae moves to the top of the investigators' suspect list.
The detectives, they're pretty convinced that he has something to do with it.
They knew who they were looking for.
Although finding him may prove easier said than done.
He was supposed to go to work on the day of the murder. He hasn't showed up there.
Hey, come look at this.
But soon, detectives get the lead they've been waiting for.
They were able to get surveillance video.
You can see a man walking down the alley.
That's definitely him.
There is no mistaking, it is George McCrae.
new secrets are being revealed. Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
Detectives in Palm Beach County, Florida have identified 62-year-old George McCrae as the prime suspect in the murders of Shania Copeland and Leotis Lester.
What did I tell you about hanging around this man?
George was controlling and extremely jealous.
Especially when it came to Shania's friendship with Leotis.
He thought that Shania and him were dating when they actually wasn't.
He would say things like, if I can't have you, no one else will.
Y'all gonna regret this.
Now detectives want to bring George in for questioning. There's just one problem.
They have no clue where he is.
He was at large. Law enforcement was looking for him.
And as a manhunt across South Florida gets underway, detectives receive a new tip from someone in their own backyard.
Detective Amanda Feifel.
A local store owner calls to report an abandoned vehicle in an alley near his shop.
The car matched a description of Jamie Copeland's car that police believe George McCrae used as a getaway vehicle after the murders.
When the police ran the plate number, they confirmed that the vehicle was Jamie Copeland's.
This was a huge win for detectives. They felt that they were one step closer to catching George and bringing him to justice.
Hey, come look at this.
After detectives obtain the surveillance footage from the gas station, they get another win.
The gas station had 2 surveillance cameras on the back of the building, facing the alleyway where the white sedan was found.
At about 1:35 p.m., you see a white sedan pull in. And about 20 minutes later, you can see a man matching George McCrae's description walking down the alley in a white hat and shirt.
At almost 2 p.m., a green Grand Marquis pulled up. The man got in, and then they just drove away.
Leaning over. That's definitely him.
Detectives feel certain the man in the surveillance footage is George McCrae. But who is driving the Grand Marquis?
Fortunately, investigators are able to make out the vehicle's license plate number from the surveillance footage.
They discovered that the car belongs to a 39-year-old man named Dwight Randall.
Police locate Dwight at the address on his vehicle registration and bring him in for questioning.
I'm investigating the double homicide that happened in Lake Worth. And obviously, your name came up in relation to George McCrae. So if we're going to start out with your relationship with George McCrae.
Right. Well, to be honest, George and I met him in federal prison. So with that being said, George, he called me every day.
Dwight says George called him around 1:30 p.m. on August 5th to ask for a ride.
He was like, man, I need you to come pick me up. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not thinking anything of that.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, where are you? He was like, man, I'm in Lake Worth. He said, come pick me up off of 10th Avenue.
According to Dwight, George's demeanor was as calm and collected as ever.
He jumped in the car. The guy didn't act like nothing was like, he got calm just like you. He asked me where I was going, what I had to do today. I said, yeah, I got to pick my sons up today because I get them on the weekend.
Dwight says he'd agreed to drop George off at home before heading to pick up his sons. But on the way there, George asked him to pull over.
So he was like, cool, just drop him off right here. I'm like, well, damn, that's odd, you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know what his intentions were of me dropping him off in the area. I know he just got out the car.
Uh-huh.
Once he got out the car, he went.
Dwight claims he has no idea where George is now.
That's the last time I talked to him. Later on, when I heard about it, I'm like, the only thing I was fearing about that is like, damn, man, I'm gonna get jammed up in probation over something that I was oblivious to.
Investigators believe Dwight's story.
He really didn't seem to have any knowledge of the crime that had taken place.
He thought he was just giving a ride to a friend in need.
Now, detectives are more determined than ever to locate George. And 2 days later, they're able to do just that.
All right, thank you. I got our guy.
He tried to rob someone outside of a hospital one night in West Palm Beach, and the security called the police.
He took off on foot in the area, but police were able to track him down to arrest him.
They believe it may be a way for him to try and get some quick money since he's on the run.
That was just a crime of opportunity. He was just trying to get away.
For Shania's family, the arrest comes as a relief and a surprise.
I was confused because her and George, had a good relationship from that I knew of. I would have never in a million years thought he would have did that to my cousin. I thought he had nothing but the best intentions for her. It took a weight off our shoulders, but we were still, confused and grieving and didn't really know why he did that.
What was the reason? Like, what did this young girl do to make you want to take her life?
The next morning, detectives confront George with what they know about Shania and Leotis's murders.
All right, George, it is time to cooperate.
Police are hoping that they can get a confession.
You were jealous?
They laid out everything they knew about the couple's relationship. The fact that George was controlling, that he was jealous, and that he thought Shania was cheating on him with Leotis.
But George refuses to budge.
I've got nothing to say to you.
He is not cooperating at all. He's telling the police he knows nothing.
He says that he's in there for stealing a purse, not murder. So unless they have questions about that, he has nothing to say.
He never made any admissions about the crime at all.
One word. Lawyer.
George's silence could prove a major roadblock for the investigation.
They needed to be able to piece together exactly what happened that afternoon for the jury. And without any eyewitnesses or a confession, that was going to be difficult.
Not to mention, they still didn't have a murder weapon.
When investigators searched George's home, they didn't find a 9mm or really any evidence of his involvement.
However, a familiar face could provide investigators with some promising eyewitness evidence.
After George's arrest hit the news, Shania's neighbor Alex Martinez then showed up at the station and wanted to talk to detectives.
I know we spoke with you on scene right after it happened. Just go ahead with anything that you think you need to add to what you originally told us.
That's when Alex drops a bombshell.
Everything I said in the beginning, it was true.
He essentially said, I saw the whole thing go down.
I seen George McCray shoot foolish.
Stay tuned for more of the Fatal Attraction podcast.
Palm Beach County detectives believe that George McCray is responsible for the murders of his girlfriend, Shania Copeland, and her neighbor, Leotis Booby Lester.
Come on, man. We know you did it.
George has denied any involvement in the crime, and without a confession, detectives are having a hard time piecing together what happened that afternoon.
One word. Lawyer.
But now a neighbor has come forward, claiming he witnessed the murders firsthand.
He said it all started just before 1:30 p.m. when he was about to head to the gym.
Leotis was still on the front porch of the Copeland home, listening to music.
As Alex loaded his gym bag into the back of his car, he noticed George walking in his direction.
George, what's going on, my man?
Alex knew George from the neighborhood, but George just seemed to ignore him, and then he kept walking.
I seen him walk right past me, but I didn't know his name.
That's when George approached Leotis.
Leotis had headphones on, so he didn't notice George until it was too late.
He walked right up to that nigga, shot him right in the neck. I never seen nothing like that before.
You saw George McCray kill Booby.
Then, Alex says he saw George enter the home.
There were 3 more loud bangs.
Why did you tell us the first day when we talked to you that you didn't see it?
I was scared to tell you.
You were scared?
I never witnessed nothing like that.
According to Alex, George had threatened his life.
Hey, George, hey, we're good. No, if you say something, I know. I'll kill you.
George told Alex that he'd be coming for him next if he didn't keep his mouth shut.
That really scared me. I don't know what you're capable of. Now you know my mama Steve, you know?
After threatening Alex, George took off.
McCrae got in Shania's mother's car and fled the scene.
At that point, Alex rushed to Leotis' aid, along with another neighbor who heard the gunshots, Sarah Jackson.
At the end of his interview, Alex agrees to fully cooperate with the murder investigation.
Now that George was in police custody, he wasn't as scared of him anymore.
I would testify. I would point him out and everything.
Okay.
I want this man gone.
Detectives now have a clear picture of how Shania and Leotis were killed, as well as what drove George to do it.
George McCrae felt that his time with Shania was coming closer to an end. He felt her slipping away, and he saw Leotis as the reason he was losing Shania.
He was paranoid. He saw a relationship where there was really just a friendship.
Hey, what I told you about hanging around this man?
The day of the murder, he felt the growing distance. He grew increasingly jealous of the relationship between Shania and Booby. He decided to act.
You're gonna regret this. Y'all gonna regret this.
Several minutes later, George returned to the home, armed with a 9mm handgun.
He decided that if he could not have her, no one would.
After gunning down Leotis, George ambushed Shania inside her bedroom.
George, what are you doing?
He went and shot Shania Copeland in cold blood.
Palm Beach County detectives charged George McCrae with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Then, to spare Shania's loved ones from more pain, the district attorney recommends a plea deal.
The family did not want to have to relive this incident by going through a trial, by going through all the details and the pictures and the videos. It can be very traumatic to have to see those things.
My aunt, she's an emotional person. She don't want to keep reliving that.
The idea of him taking a 30-year prison sentence was proposed. If he survived the prison sentence, he would be released from prison at 92 years old. So, with discussions with the family, that was what the ultimate decision was, that this could be over.
Today, Shania's family still struggles to understand this senseless crime.
He killed a mom of a 6-month-old, all because of her friendship with another man.
It was crazy because there was literally nothing going on. To take someone's life in the name of love just so you can go sit in the cell, what was the purpose in that?
One of the biggest tragedies here is Shania's son now has to grow up without a mother.
He was so small when she was killed, but it's going to get harder as he gets older because he's going to want to know all those things that we can't answer for him. We miss her so much, so dearly. Family is everything. Surround yourself with your family because you can be here one day and gone the next.
In the complexities of love, one may encounter individuals who hide behind a mask, leading to a profound sense of betrayal. Such actions expose a deep-seated darkness within humanity. Amidst all the turmoil, It is important to remember that a mother's devotion to her child is a profound and irreplaceable bond that should never be tarnished by tragedy or senseless loss. Shania Copeland will always be remembered by her son, her mother, and all who had the honor of knowing and loving her. Coming up on the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast.
He was a young man with a bright future.
He was just such a smart guy. He was inquisitive.
He wanted to be a lawyer.
But more than anything, he wanted a family.
He was such a hopeless romantic.
He wanted something just like our parents have.
But someone else wanted him dead.
An ambitious and hardworking young dad from San Antonio, Texas, dreams of attending law school. But suddenly, he goes silent. His family stops receiving his phone calls, leaving them increasingly worried. As the silence continues, they can't shake the feeling that something is very wrong. What could have happened, and what happens when love becomes fatal? Tune in to the next episode of the Fatal Attraction Podcast. We will see you in the next episode.